Greetings, I'm Nick Saint-Erne, or in the SCA I'm known as Nicholas de Navarre. And today, for the 5th SCA Virtual Cooking Challenge, we're going to do another recipe from that cooking scroll, the Forme of Cury, from 1390. Now the Forme of Cury would be translated to the method of cooking. And this scroll was written by the master cook of Richard II of England. This one is for what's called compost, which is a composition to be always ready at hand, similar to a relish that would be added to a meat dish. This recipe makes a spiced vegetables in a wine and honey sauce. Compost. Take roots of parsley, of pasternak, which is parsnip, of racines, which are carrots, scrape them, wash them together, take rapes, which are turnips, and cabbages pared and corned, meaning diced. Take an earthen pan in clean water and set it on the fire. Cast all these therein. When they hath boiled, cast thereto pears, and parboil them well. Take these things up, and let them cool on a fair cloth. Do thereto salt when it is cold. In a vessel take vinegar and powder fort and saffron, and do thereto, and let all these things lie therein all night, another all day. Take wine Greek and honey clarified together, Lombardy mustard and raisins of Corinth, which are currants, all whole, and grind powder of cannel, which is cinnamon, powder douce, and anise seeds whole, and fennel seed. Take all these and cast together in a pot of earth, and take thereof when thou wilt, and serve forth. So that's what we're going to put together now. Instead of root of parsley, I'm going to use a little bit of the root of fennel, which is left over from one of my previous recipes. This was washed, cleaned, and pared, and made about half a cup. The pasternak, or parsnip, was also washed, scraped clean, and then pared down and corned or chopped up. One parsnip made about a cup and a half of cubed chopped up parsnip. In this recipe, roots of raisins refers to carrots. One carrot makes about half a cup when chopped up. Rapes in this recipe refer to turnips. These are also washed and then peeled and chopped. When pared and corned, the turnip makes about 2 cups. The last vegetable to be pared and corned is the cabbage. I'm going to use about 1/4 of a head of cabbage. The cabbage makes about 1.5 cups when the 1/4 head is chopped. To offset all the vegetables, I'm going to use 3 Anjou pears to add a little sweetness. The 3 pears makes about 2.5 cups once chopped up. In a vessel, take vinegar and powder forte and saffron, and do thereto mix them up, and let all these things lie therein all night until the next day. So here I've taken 1/2 cup of cider vinegar and 1/2 cup of white wine vinegar, and to them I've added a teaspoon of strong powder or poudre forte, as well as a pinch of saffron. I'm going to mix this up and then let this sit until tomorrow when I actually cook everything. The next step is to take Greek wine, which I did not have any, so I have a white Italian wine, which is close to Greece, and take about 1 cup of wine and add to it, in this case, about 1/3 of a cup of clarified honey. To this I add a tablespoon of mustard. I'm using Dijon mustard, which is an old recipe that is actually very much like the Lombard mustard. There is a recipe in this scroll of recipes specifically for the Lombard mustard. To this is added a half of cup of raisins of currants or currants. If you don't have currants, you could use raisins. These currants are a little bit smaller than a raisin. The additional ingredients are a half of a teaspoon of ground powder of cannelle, which is powdered cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of powdered douce, the recipe for which I discussed in a previous video, and a half teaspoon of anise seeds, anise whole, and a half a teaspoon of fennel seed. And then these will be mixed up. I've got the fire now down to some coals, still some logs, but it's got pretty hot. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pot of water on. Now I have an earthen pot of water to place over the fire, and we're going to let the water get hot and then add to it the chopped vegetables. Now we're going to add the chopped vegetables into the water and continue the boil. Mix those up. So the vegetables have been boiling about 15 minutes now, and they're starting to get soft. So they're soft enough that it's time to add pears. So these are the Anjou pears. Those will be just parboiled, so they won't be boiled very long at all. We don't want them to get mushy. I've taken the earthen pot off the fire, and then it says take these things and pour them through a fair cloth in order to let them cool. I'm going to use a metal strainer instead of a cloth, and pour these all out, and that's going to get them off the liquid. And then we'll let them cool. And do thereto salt when it is cold. So a couple pinches of salt on top of the vegetables. And now we will take the vinegar, powder forte, and saffron and pour it on the mix. And then next is the Greek wine or Italian wine, along with the rest of the spices and the currants. That will provide all the flavor to go with the vegetables.
the currants will have additional sweetness. And this is our vegetable compost, which will be used like a relish for a meat dish.
So I have some roast beef, and I'm going to put some of the compost on it and give it a try. It has a nice color. The saffron really made it yellowy. And we'll try it with the compote. It gives it a sweet and spicy flavor. Very strong medieval spices, which are familiar if you've eaten some of the other medieval recipes. Different than a lot of modern food spices. But it has an overbearing sweetness with the currants, the honey, the white wine, and the pears that keeps it from being too strong spice-wise. It's really pretty good. Thank you for watching.